Hey everyone! Today, we're talking about 4 old coins from 1965 that could be worth a lot of money. They look like regular coins, but they're super rare. You might even have one in your pocket. Let's see which coins are worth big money. Let's dive into something really cool today, the 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark. Now, I know what you're thinking, what's so special about a 1965 quarter? Well, get ready because this coin has a pretty wild backstory that makes it worth a ton of money. Back in 1965, the US Mint made a huge change. Instead of using the usual silver to make quarters, they switched to a copper-nickel blend. Why? Well, there was a shortage of silver at the time, so the mint decided to use a different metal. This was a pretty big deal because quarters had been made from silver for years, but that wasn't the only change that year. The mint also made a decision to stop putting mint marks on most of the coins. Normally, every coin has a mint mark, a little letter like D for Denver or P for Philadelphia, that tells you where it was made. But in 1965, they left mint marks off most of the coins, and that's where things get interesting. Some 1965 Washington quarters were struck without any mint mark at all. Now, that's a big mistake because most of the quarters from that year either have a D or P mint mark. So when a few of these mintless quarters slipped through, they became extremely rare. And as you know, rare coins are always more valuable. So, what's the big deal about value? A regular 1965 quarter is worth, well, just 25 cents, right? But if you have a 1965 Washington quarter with no mint mark, that coin could be worth up to $20,000. Yep, you heard me right, $20,000 for a single quarter. Now, you might be asking, why is this quarter worth so much? Well, it all comes down to rarity. Since these mintless coins weren't supposed to exist, finding one is like finding a treasure. Coin collectors get really excited about rare coins like these, and they're willing to pay a lot to get their hands on one. Let's talk about the design for a second. The 1965 Washington quarter has the classic design that we've all seen before, George Washington's face on the front and an eagle on the back. It's a simple design, but it's iconic. The eagle, which symbolizes strength and freedom, has been featured on US coins for years, and it's instantly recognizable. But what makes this coin different from other quarters is the mistake that happened during production. That tiny error, the missing mint mark, is what makes this coin stand out in a big way. It's a perfect example of how a small mistake can turn a regular coin into something incredibly valuable. So, if you happen to find a 1965 Washington quarter in your change or collection, take a closer look. If it doesn't have a mint mark, you might just have a rare gem on your hands that could be worth a lot more than just 25 cents. It's like holding a piece of US history, and that history could be worth thousands of dollars. Trust me, when it comes to coin collecting, you never know what might be hiding in your pocket. Now let's talk about another super rare and valuable coin, the 1965 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark. At first glance, this might just look like an ordinary 5-cent coin, but don't let that fool you. This little nickel could be worth up to $40,000. Yes, you heard that right. A small, everyday coin that might be sitting in your change jar could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So, what makes this coin so special? Let's go back to 1965. That year, the US Mint made a big change. They decided to stop putting mint marks on most of the coins, including nickels. A mint mark is a tiny letter on a coin that tells you where it was made. For example, D means the coin was made in Denver, and P means it was made in Philadelphia. Mint marks are super helpful for collectors, but in 1965, the mint removed them to prevent people from hoarding coins based on where they were made. Now here's where it gets interesting. Even though the mint officially stopped adding mint marks, some coins still ended up with this change done incorrectly or inconsistently. A few 1965 Jefferson nickels were made without any mint mark at all. These error coins weren't supposed to happen, and because of that, they are extremely rare. And when it comes to coin collecting, rarity means value. The fewer there are, the more collectors want them. That's why this nickel, which should only be worth 5 cents, can be sold for as much as $40,000 if it's in great condition and in high demand. Now, let's take a quick look at the design of the Jefferson nickel. On the front of the coin, you'll see a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. He's facing left, and underneath his portrait is the motto, "In God We Trust," along with the word "Liberty," and the year, 1965. On the back of the coin, there's a picture of Monticello, which was Jefferson's home in Virginia. It's a famous building with a large dome and lots of columns, and it's been part of the nickel's design for many years. Below the image of Monticello, you'll see the words, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. This design hasn't changed much over the years, which makes it even harder to spot a valuable 1965 nickel unless you're really paying attention. The key thing to look for is that missing mint mark. If you don't see a little D or P on the coin, you might just have something rare in your hands. So the next time you're going through your spare change, don't overlook your nickels. One of them could be a 1965 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark, and that tiny little coin could be worth more than a brand new car. Now let's talk about another rare and valuable coin, the 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. This one might be small, but don't let its size fool you. It's a coin that many collectors dream of finding, and if you happen to spot one, it could be worth around $4,000. So, what makes this penny so special? First, let's talk about the design. The Lincoln penny has been part of U.S. money since 1909. It's one of the most well-known and longest-running coins in American history. On the front of the coin, you'll see a portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders in U.S. history. On the back, there's a detailed image of the Lincoln Memorial, located in Washington, D.C. It's a strong and classic design that has stayed mostly the same for many years. Now, back in 1965, something interesting happened at the U.S. Mint. That year, the Mint was trying to stop people from collecting and hoarding coins based on where they were made. So, just like with the quarter and nickel we talked about earlier, the Mint stopped putting mint marks on coins for a short time. A mint mark is a small letter on a coin that tells you where it was made. D stands for the Denver Mint, and P stands for the Philadelphia Mint. But in 1965, some coins, including the Lincoln penny, were made without any mint mark at all. Now here's the cool part, even though most 1965 Lincoln pennies were supposed to be made without a mint mark, a very small number of error coins slipped through the system, and they ended up with no mint mark at all when they weren't supposed to. These are extremely rare, and that's what makes them so valuable today. A regular 1965 penny is only worth 1 cent. But if you find a 1965 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, and it's one of the rare error coins, collectors are willing to pay up to $4,000 for it. That's a huge jump in value for something so small. Why so much? It all comes down to rarity. The fewer there are, the more people want them. It's like finding a golden ticket, you never expect it, but when it happens, it could change everything. The Lincoln penny is already a favorite among coin collectors because of its long history and powerful design. But when you add in a rare minting error like this, it becomes even more special. So the next time you're going through a pile of change or looking through an old coin jar, pay close attention to your pennies. If you see a 1965 penny with no mint mark, take a closer look. It might just be one of those rare coins worth thousands of dollars. Let's wrap up our list with a coin that's small in size but big in value, the 1965 1 dime without a mint mark. You might not think much of a dime, since it's just worth 10 cents, right? But if you come across the right 1965 dime, it could be worth as much as $6,000. So, how can a small dime be worth thousands of dollars? It all comes down to a rare minting error that happened in 1965. That year, the U.S. Mint made a big decision. They stopped putting mint marks on many of their coins. A mint mark is a tiny letter on a coin that shows where it was made. Usually, you'd see a D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But in 1965, the Mint removed mint marks to help stop coin hoarding. Because of this change, a few coins, including the dime, were struck without a mint mark. Now, most 1965 dimes were made without a mint mark on purpose, so not every mintless dime from that year is valuable. But here's the twist, a small number of 1965 dimes were made using leftover silver planchets, blanks used for older silver dimes, instead of the new copper-nickel ones. These silver dimes weren't supposed to exist after 1964, so finding one from 1965 is incredibly rare. That's where the value comes in. A regular 1965 dime with no mint mark is only worth 10 cents. But if it's one of the rare silver 1965 dimes without a mint mark, collectors are willing to pay up to $6,000 for it. These rare dimes are a dream find for coin collectors because they're not easy to spot. You really have to look closely and sometimes even test the coin to see if it's made of silver. If it weighs a little more than usual and has no copper-colored edge, it might just be one of these rare silver versions. Now let's talk about the design. The front of the dime features a portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. He's remembered for leading the country through the Great Depression and most of World War II. The Roosevelt dime design started in 1946, just after he passed away, to honor his leadership and legacy. On the back of the coin, you'll see three symbols, a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch. The torch stands for freedom, the olive branch stands for peace, and the oak branch stands for strength. It's a simple yet powerful design that represents what America stands for. So, even though it looks like a regular dime, the 1965 dime without a mint mark and made of silver is incredibly rare and valuable. If you're lucky enough to find one, you could be holding a tiny coin that's worth thousands of dollars. It just goes to show, always check your change carefully. You never know what treasure you might find. So, there you have it, for ultra-rare and ultra-valuable US coins that could be hiding in your pocket right now. The 1965 Washington quarter, the 1965 Jefferson nickel, the 1965 Lincoln penny, and the 1965 one dime with no mint mark are all worth big money because of production mistakes. These coins represent a piece of US history and are highly sought after by collectors. If you come across any of these coins, don't just toss them in your pocket or jar. Make sure you check them closely. You never know, you could have a small fortune on your hands. I hope you enjoyed learning about these rare coins today. If you have any questions or if you found any cool coins of your own, drop a comment below, I'd love to hear about it. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and make sure to subscribe for more cool content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.